morning. Welcome. Bienvenidos a Connecting Communities with Giovanni Mata. It is always a pleasure for you to join our program. And of course, we always thank you for your viewing this program every week. And today is Friday, the 13th of June, 2014. And we are very close to the summer. So we hope that you are enjoying the warm weather that we have had so far in the spring. And we are ready for the summer. So esperamos que todos estén disfrutando una excelente primavera. Ya en pocos días estaremos llegando al verano de este año. Así que muchas gracias por siempre ver nuestro programa. Thank you for always watching our program. And of course, you know, we always like to begin by thanking Blue Chip Marketing, our main producing company. So if you ever need some marketing company, please visit Blue Chip Marketing. So, and today we have the great pleasure of having a distinguished guest today. We have Mr. R. David Marquez. Okay, he's a graduate from the Juris Doctorate degree, and he is actually he's an attorney with 30 years of litigation experience in handling both civil and criminal matters in New York State. And also Mr. Marquez is assisted by a staff of 7, including 2 associate attorneys and 2 paralegals, and some of those who actually speak Spanish. The firm performs as a team when representing its clients in state and federal courts, providing its clients with the best possible combined services. Mr. Marquez, thank you and welcome.
Pleasure to be here, Gio.
Likewise. So it's an honor for us to have, you know, such a prestigious attorney as you are in the community. So tell us about you. You know, who is Mr. Marquez? How did you become an experienced of 30 years attorney? You know, I'm sure it didn't come like from one day to another.
Well, most certainly not.
Okay.
I was born in New York City. My parents are of Puerto Rican heritage, they having been born in New York as well.
Okay.
Originally, my grandparents migrated from Puerto Rico in the early 20s and came to live in New York City.
Like many of us, right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I was rather fortunate that my parents were able to move out to Long Island back in the early 1950s. I was raised in the town of Great Neck, Long Island. I attended various schools. Some were actually private boarding schools, and graduated from Great Neck North in 1969. At that time, I was probably one of the few, if there were any other, Hispanics there. And I then went back to Puerto Rico to undertake my 4 years of college and 3 years of law school. I graduated law school in 1977 from the Inter-American University de Puerto Rico, okay. And then came and finished my master's in business administration, or an MBA degree, in the year 1979 at Adelphi University. From there, I went on to do a entrepreneurship, if you will, when video was in its infancy. And I guess I wasn't as fortunate as Bill Gates to get the multi-million-dollar IBM backing, so correct. That kind of sent me back to law. Okay. And I went back to law in about 1982, practicing with a gentleman who had a solo practice in Bayshore, Long Island, also a Hispanic community. And from there, I went on to practice with him for a couple of years, and eventually I was hired by a large firm in Manhattan.
Which I see there that you were actually one of the in the medical field, right?
Yes, it was a large medical malpractice firm back then called Bauer and Gardner, and I was, I believe, if not the only Hispanic attorney. Not that they never had an Hispanic attorney before me,
but at the
because
time.
They did. But at the time, I believe I was the only one in the firm.
Okay.
We had 200 attorneys and over 350 staff members, so it was a large firm.
How much of the Hispanic population clientele you had at that time?
Well, at that time we represented hospitals, so and one of the reasons why I guess I was hired was because they wanted to put a Hispanic face on the team that represented hospitals in the Bronx. Hospitals in the Bronx such as Lincoln Hospital, Bronx Lebanon Hospital, these hospitals had Hispanic and Puerto Rican administrators and administrations guiding their operations. So they wanted to have, some
that affinity,
reflection. Yes.
that affinity with the community.
Absolutely.
And actually, the Bronx is one of the New York City boroughs that has the largest Hispanic population.
That is correct.
So
That is correct.
it's always been there, and it started very early in the years.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and after that, so you worked there for. Is any specific case that you remember that probably made a history not only with you but probably with the firm in terms of your field?
Well,
Of course, I'm sure there is many.
That's right.
but,
It's a problem to tell Giovanni one, because Bauer and Gardner at that time was really a powerhouse in terms of defending hospitals and physicians.
Okay.
So there were actually many, I don't want to say necessarily landmark decisions, but close to that, precedent-setting decisions that came out of that firm.
Okay.
I would say, for me, the most important aspect of being there is to really get the experience and the training of how to be a good and proficient civil litigator. And I did get my basic foundation on how to litigate at that firm.
that was usually your foundation for what you came after now for 30 years.
Absolutely.
So how long do you work there?
I worked there for 5 years as an associate attorney. I was on a team of about 20 or so attorneys representing the hospitals in the Bronx and all parts north of the Bronx. From there, I went on to private practice representing patients. That's really not unusual that attorneys will gain experience on one side of the field and then switch to the other side. My motivations for switching to the other side were because I felt they're Hispanics, they're victims, and I wanted to represent Hispanics. I didn't mind representing an institution that was run by Hispanics, but I eventually felt that I would be more true to my roots by actually representing the patients themselves. And so I did that for many years and went on to do medical malpractice plaintiffs work and personal injury plaintiffs work.
Okay. It would be interesting for us to know why, of course, we or any specific identity that we have, it could be Jewish, it could be Indian, it could be Asian, it could be any type of other ethnicity that actually define us on society, but we're all human beings. Why Hispanics? I mean, of course, you being Hispanics, but some people will say, but isn't that, and of course we have had it, with other, maybe not with the law, but a lot of group people may be saying that, are you having a preferential profiling on your clients?
Well, to be honest with you, no. Right now, my law firm represents clients of every type, of every religion, of every color, and of every background. And I have...
You just have an affinity and an interest in the Hispanic community. Why?
Well, because A, because I'm Hispanic, and B, because Hispanics have been underrepresented in the legal field.
Correct.
If you look at our population demographic and you compare that to how many Hispanic judges do we have, although we have more today, how many Hispanic lawyers do we have? We have more today, but still underrepresented for the size of the community.
Correct. Well, Hispanics represent a large population on Long Island.
Yes.
Well, in New York City, of course, but Long Island, we have a large, actually, close to 250,000 of total population according to the census. And we have to also know that according to the census, there is a 35 to 37% of margin of people not being counted.
That's it.
So if we add that to that, we have quite a 1,000 people here in Long Island of Hispanic descent. Of
Absolutely,
course.
it's a large community. That's why my law firm is based in Hempstead. Hempstead has a large Hispanic community, predominantly Salvadorian, and the need is there. There are many people who really need to have someone fight for them.
And there was a very particular, I would say, thing that happened with Hispanics is that not all communities, even though there is 19 Hispanic countries, and of course everyone has their own characteristics of behavior, even though the language is the same, words may change once in a while from Salvadorians to Mexicans to Puerto Ricans, but of course we all speak Spanish. But in behavior, we know that the Puerto Rican community is one of the most empowered communities because it has been here for the longest.
That is correct.
Of course, Dominicans also, and of course, Salvadorians are in development, both in professionalism and politically, and in in different other areas. What do you think is the most common challenge amongst all of the Hispanic, I will say, people that have come to Long Island? In particular, we have, people from all these 19 countries, but of course Long Island is majority Salvadorians who live here.
Well, first of all, you've got to understand that anyone who's an immigrant from another country has common challenges in terms of dominating the language,
The system?
understanding the system,
Yes.
acquiring to become part of the system. In other words, their enculturalization takes on a new meaning when they go from one country to another country. Their assimilation into both the culture and the way, the conduct, as you said, the social mores, that challenges everyone. Within the Hispanic community, it's maybe a little bit more challenging in the sense that most Hispanics are not only coming from a lower socioeconomic level, but also from a lower educational level.
Correct.
So we have many Hispanics now who are new immigrants whose children will be the first generation that ever go to college. And that's a challenge by itself.
And it's good that you mentioned that, because working in the Hispanic community, I know that is a fact. And that is not an option or a decision that they made. It's the circumstances of the countries where they come from
Absolutely.
that put them in that situation.
Yes, yes. And coming here,
Cubans per se.
well, Cubans a little different because Cubans, you had, when the Cuban migration occurred in the late 1950s, it was, I guess you would almost say, it's similar to the Iranian migration. These were people who were, in many cases, well-heeled, had professions in their home countries, and then were transplanted to the United States because of political uprisings.
And education is the difference there.
Absolutely.
Higher education, we'll
Yes,
say.
yes. Not to say that there weren't also Cubans that came here needing to develop because they didn't have an education, but there was a good number of them that were in fact already educated. And that made a difference in how that particular sector adapted to the United States when they came over here.
Correct, yeah. Well, today we're talking to Mr. R. Marquez, R. David Marquez, I'm sorry, and he's an attorney in Hempstead in litigation and of course in foreclosure defense. For over 30 years he's been defending all type of clients, but mostly really focused on the Hispanic community due to the needs and challenges that they have. So what we'd like to know is, Mr. Marquez, so what other aspects of law do you practice besides foreclosure, besides criminal defense?
Well, let me say this. I do, at this point, little criminal defense, and I do more foreclosure work. And the reason why I do more foreclosure work is right now that is the biggest growing segment of the law. The courts all over the state of New York, predominantly south of the Hudson Valley, are just full of foreclosure cases because of what occurred. And what occurred is that back in the year 2000, when they changed the banking laws, they were trying to give opportunities to first-time homeowners to acquire homes, and one of the largest segments there was the Hispanic population. And what you had, although it was good intentions, was a very bad outcome because many of the Hispanic families that may have had one or two credit cards and paid their credit cards on time and had good FICO scores,
800, 700.
didn't have big paying jobs, but they were qualified for these mortgages and to buy homes
Based on the credit, but not on the income.
That's right. And
Okay.
this was, like I said, although the intention was good, the execution was bad. It ended up in predatory lending. Predatory lending is predominantly characterized by, I give you a loan that I know you can't really pay, But I don't care because I'm going to sell your loan the moment you sign the paperwork. And when banks,
I'm done with you.
when banks sell the loans amongst themselves, they sell those loans at a discount of the future value. That's the value at the end of the 30 years. Very often, if not most of the time, the interest that you're going to pay is going to be 2.5 times the principal of the loan. So if I, the bank, lend you $500,000, when I, at the end of the 30 years, go to collect, I'm collecting $1.75 million. So now I go to another bank after you sign the papers and I say, hey, I'll sell you this loan. It's worth 1.7 million. I'll sell it to you for 520, 530, 550. Got back the same $500 to lend to the next guy and put $50,000 in my pocket, plus the fees and things that I charge you to get the loan, knowing that you weren't going to really succeed. And then that brings on, after we sell the loan, somebody to come eventually and foreclose. And this is where the big problem is for the banks, because very often there are difficulties in proving the chain of title. Bank A made the loan, Bank X is now coming to collect it. What happened in the middle?
Okay. So who should we blame?
Well,
I mean, who's responsible for all of this
I got to say, in my estimation,
nightmare for our people?
in my estimation, it's actually the banking industry. The banking industry, in the way they applied the change in the law, really did a disservice to minority communities. And that's why in the year 2011 or 2012, I kind of forget it a little bit which year it was, I was asked by the National Hispanic Bar Association to do a presentation on foreclosure law, which went out to one of their programs to law students from coast to coast to explain to the Hispanic community how to deal with foreclosures and what foreclosure actually meant.
What are some of the advice as an attorney that you can give to a person who is in the process of buying a property now?
Well,
if there is a family that has probably been seeing a lender, and everything seems to be right, everything seems to be so nice to be true, we know. What are some of the recommendations that we can make to these individuals or to these families before they make a decision that will end up in foreclosure?
Well, let me first address what type of property are they going to buy. Because many people, even Hispanics, or especially Hispanics, don't have a lot of money. Nowadays, the property values have dropped. And many people are trying to take advantage of the fact that, let me buy a house that was in foreclosure because I can get it for less.
Correct.
The problem is that, number one, will the title to that house be affected by the fact that it was sold at a foreclosure auction? So, one, will they have marketable title to that property? Number two, what's the condition of the house? Many of the houses that are actually foreclosed upon very often get gutted. People take out the copper tubing, they take out the wiring, they literally leave a skeleton of a house. So if a person is going to buy a house that's been in foreclosure, they've got to have that house inspected to make sure that the house really has all of the systems in good working order for them to be buying something that's not going to become a nightmare to them. And of course, like I said before, it's very important that they have a good title company, a good lawyer, and to be represented when they actually do the mortgage loan and when they do the acquisition of the home, to make sure that they're not being taken advantage of.
What happened to those brokers that act on behalf of the client and say, you don't need an attorney, we'll help you?
That's the worst thing that can happen. Listen, a real estate broker, and I have nothing against real estate brokers, but real estate brokers are not attorneys. Real estate brokers
are real estate
brokers, and they're mostly motivated on getting their commissions. If you want protection, you have to have an attorney. Just like if you have a medical issue, you have to have a doctor. You don't go to the pharmacist.
Correct.
In many South American countries, people who can't afford doctors actually go to the pharmacist. You can't do that here. Not here.
Not here.
Not here. Here, you have to go to the specialist that actually has the knowledge and the ability and the resources to help you for your particular problem. And there is no substitute in a legal matter for going to a lawyer. And we even have that situation in foreclosures because a lot of people say, oh, I can't afford a lawyer. Let me go to a mortgage modification company. But the mortgage modification company doesn't give you a lawyer, doesn't answer the summons and complaint in court, and what you end up with is hurting yourself because you lose your ability to fight the case.
Wonderful. What would be our recommendation in average to all of our viewers and the community at large? And of course, especially Hispanics and minorities who are target of all these concerns. What would be your message to them?
Well,
Or your recommendation and how they can reach to you if they were to hire services?
Well, first of all, I can be reached by both the internet, the phone book. I would say that really the internet is probably the greatest resource because all you would have to do is put in my name and I'm going to pop up all over the place.
So well, we mentioned that it's rdavidmarquez.com. That's what I have here, and also you have foreclosuredefenseny.com. And I also have here a phone number that if you wish to reach Mr. Marquez, it is 516-478-9302. That is again 516-478-9302. Mr. Marquez, we are very happy that you came to our program, and we hope that our viewers have actually taken advantage of such experience and such wonderful, besides wonderful, very productive advices in regards to foreclosure, in regards to the industry of property buying and all this ripping off going on amongst our community, not only Hispanics but amongst all of our residents. So we're very happy that you came. We thank you very much. We hope that we can have probably another program and discuss other topics. We know how we see how knowledgeable you are and how experienced. Of course, your 30 years of experience have gone and have shown that you are very well experienced. So we all want to thank all of our viewers, of course, by always watching this program. Remember, Connecting Communities with Giovanni Mata brings you with leaders of our communities who can bring assistance and guidance to you and be better members of our communities. So we thank you very much for watching our program. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.